It's slim pickings for two-start streamers next week, but we found a few options to help put you over the top, and that's coming up right now.
It's about that time.
Stoned on Sports.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Stoned on Sports Fantasy Baseball. My name is Matt. You can find me on X at SOSP_Matt. Got the awesome co-host Kyle here with me today. You can find him on the X machine as well. We are thrilled to be here on my favorite day. It's Thursday. It's pitcher day. And as everybody knows, in points leagues and head-to-head leagues, pitching is a key to victory. Kyle, how the hell you doing, brother?
Doing great. How you been? Always love Thursdays too. It's always fun to dive into the data and see where we're at. So we'll just get her started, right? First guy we got is Erick Fedde with the Chicago White Sox. He is 61% owned, so typically a little bit higher than we usually will talk about, but he's pretty close. And as Matt mentioned at the top, it is kind of slim pickings. He's got a couple starts, both on the road at Cleveland and at Miami. He had a dominant last year overseas in the KBO. He became the first foreign pitcher to log 20 wins and 200 plus strikeouts in a single season. I was actually shocked. I figured there had to have been somebody that already had done that. Pretty crazy. So he's kind of gone unwanted, 2 years ago from approaching, I'll just say it, ace type territory. Okay. A lot of nice things to like about him. He's 9th in the AL among starting pitchers in FWAR, 11th in ERA, 12th in ERA plus, 14th in FIP. And he's just really one of the best stories in fantasy baseball this season and baseball as a whole. He's been good in June. He's the starting pitcher number 69 in fantasy in June. In his 4 starts during June so far, he's 1-1. He hasn't allowed more than 3 earned run in any of them, a 2.88 ERA and a nice whip of 1.04. And he's gone at least 5 innings pitched in all 4, and he went 7 in 2. So, some innings eating is always great in points leagues. And the walks. He just issued 2 walks in June so far in 25 innings pitched. On the year, he started 16 outings. He's 5-2, 94 and a third innings pitched. He's got a ERA of 3.05 and a whip of 114. Strikeout rate 22-1, just the smallest little smidge above average. And the walk rate, excellent, of course, at 6.2%. He's above average when it comes to first pitch strikes. Perhaps that's helping him with his low walk rate by getting ahead in the count. He's a sinker baller. Okay. He throws them 30% of the time. It's really his put away pitch with a 26% strikeout rate. So every time I know Matt does too, I see a sinker ball pitcher that's their primary pitch, I always look at their ground ball rate. His is above average at 47.3, but he was regularly in the 50s a few seasons ago. Why? Because he changed his pitch mix, and it's really been the reason for his turnaround. Back in the 19th season, Fedde relied on his sinker an astonishing 55% of the time. He eliminated his curve that just 2 seasons ago, he threw 28% of the time in favor of a sweeper, and it's became one of his go-to pitches. He uses it almost 21% of the time, and a large portion of that percentage comes against right-handed hitters, and they are struggling with it. Not to worry, though. Lefties have their own nemesis in Fedde's changeup, seeing it a ton. And his increased usage of the changeup is another aspect of his overhaul. In 2022, he used the pitch just 3.5% of the time. This year, he's over 20%, a new career high. So Fedde doesn't just look like a different pitcher. He fucking is one. And these additions to his arsenal are really paying dividends. Opposing hitters are hitting just 191 against that sweeper with an expected batting average of 199. And though his sweepers only accounted for 12 of his 91 strikeouts, hitters are whiffing through it 24% of the time. The changeup I mentioned is just as effective. Opponents are hitting just 203 against the pitch. And though his change is generating just a 14% whiff rate, it has generated more strikeouts than his sweeper. He keeps fly balls to a minimum and has one of the lower line drive rates in the league at 20.2%. That's his second best line drive rate of his career. And getting hitters to swing at pitches in the zone at league average, but unfortunately allows more than average contact in and out of the strike zone. Thankfully, with the above average contact, he's just so goddamn good at not allowing much hard contact. His hard hit rate, exit velocity, and barrels are all above average. So the couple starts I mentioned, he had the first ones at Cleveland. They've been good as usual the last 15 days, top 10 in OPS and runs scored. I'm a little less worried about this one, especially with Fedde's stuff and in Cleveland, more of a pitcher's park, right? At Miami, used to be more of a pitcher's park, but the dimensions were changed. I think it was before the 2020 season, Matt, you might remember. And now it's a little more neutral, I'll call it now. But no worries, because the Marlins suck, all right? The last 15 days, they're 28th in runs, last in walks, top 5 in Ks, and second to last in OPS. I'd start Fedde in both matchups with supreme confidence and definitely keep an eye on this dude. Maybe you hang on to him. This is a guy that will probably be traded at the deadline, hopefully improving his team context.
Absolutely. And look, if anyone said they were expecting this out of him this season, they're bullshitting.
Yep.
I mean, the dude was over in the KBO and he was solid, but no one was expecting a 3 ERA.
No. It's been pretty dang good. Oop. All right, next guy we got. This is the Cardinals pitcher. He struggled yesterday, allowing 5 walks. This is going to be a theme this year, this show, 5 walks for the first time in 2 seasons. And it was the first time he's given up more than 3 earned runs since May 17th. Matt, how can Kyle Gibson right the ship in 2 juicy matchups against the Pirates and Nationals next week?
So first off, I don't really like your use of the name Kyle and Juicy in the same sentence. We need to keep this PG at least. Right. And folks, you're also going to notice another theme here. We're picking on the same teams, the Pirates, the Nationals, the Angels, Oakland. Yep. You don't want to spread the love. You want to focus your attention on those teams that are a little bit shittier. The Pirates specifically have been struggling to score runs lately with a lot of swing and miss. They've shown the occasional pop, though, but their team slugging is just 380. Washington hasn't had the same issue. They're actually 9th in runs over the past couple of weeks. A little more pop from them, but not much, and really not much in terms of strikeouts or walks. You've heard us say this about this Nationals team all season long. They're a team that loves to put the ball in play. But luckily, St. Louis has a pretty solid defense. They're not great, but they're a borderline top 10 group, just depending on the metric. As you mentioned, he took the loss yesterday against Atlanta with those 5 free passes, and that's really tough for anybody to overcome. But prior to that, he'd pretty quietly been a top 60 starting pitcher. That's a rock-solid SP5 in 12-team leagues. On the year, he's 5-2 with a 3.44 ERA. His xFIP's about a half a run higher, a whip just a hair under 1.2, 73 strikeouts, 31 walks. He's dropped 10 dong, 83 in 2/3 innings pitched. And you see that right here, 73 strikeouts in 83 innings. He's not a big strikeout guy. He's never really been one, but he's also struck out 6 or more in 4 straight starts before yesterday. And his 21.3% strikeout rate's actually the best mark that he's posted since 2019. It should come as no surprise that his 11% swinging strike rate and 27.6% whiff rate are also his best since 2019. It's not all great, though. His walks are up quite a bit over last season. He's a little over 9%. And while it's not terrible, league average is right around 8.5%. It is higher than average. And considering those 5 walks yesterday, it's something you want to keep an eye on. His quality of contact is a mixed bag. Exit velocity is fine, but his barrel and hard hit rates are both in the bottom 30% of the league. And overall, he's allowing contact a little under 75% of the time. His best mark since, you guessed it, 2019. Zone contact's a little high at 87%, but still below his career average. And his chase rate is a little low, but outside his first couple of years in that 2019 season, that's kind of been his norm. The batted ball profile looks pretty good. His ground ball rate's hovering around 50%. He's allowing fly balls at a career high rate, but that's really only right around league average. And his line drive rate is a few points below league average. And that's really what you want to avoid. That's really helped him to post a career best BABIP under 270, and he's leaving ducks on the pond at around a 75% rate. I like the Pittsburgh start better than Washington, but I think you're good to run them out there for both. Just understand that teams that put the ball in play, those are very, very high variance starts, especially when you're playing them on the road. But Pittsburgh is a pretty good ballpark to pitch in, and it does a good job of keeping the ball in the park there. PNC Park really suppresses home runs. In terms of what you've got available out there on the wire, like we said in the intro, there's some slim pickings there, but I think he's got a good shot at least two quality. Well, I mean, it's not like he can get more than two quality starts. He's got a good shot at two quality starts, and I think he can pick up the dub in at least one of these.
I love it.
Yes. So this pitcher has probably been the most consistent part of the Rays rotation this year and has positioned himself as a legitimate season-long SP5 option. Add in the fact that he has dual eligibility, and it's amazing that he's less than 30% rostered. Why else should we be looking to add Zack Littell?
Got some nice matchups coming up. He's a number 55 starting pitcher in fantasy on the season. Been in pretty good his last two starts, allowing 2 earned runs just in each after a disaster outing versus the Braves a couple weeks ago on the 14th, where he was chased after 6 earned run and 2 innings. It was awful. On the season, he's 16 starts. He's 2-5, 86 and a third innings pitch, 4.17 ERA, whips at 1.36, a tad high. FIP and xFIP are both a half run less than his ERA, so I expect some improvement from him going forward. In his 16 starts, though, he has allowed more than 3 earned runs in just 3 of those 16 starts. That's some good crap. That's some good shit right there. Some good crap.
What's wrong with you?
I know. He's lasted at least 5 innings pitched in 14 out of 16 starts. He's qualified for the wins. He just hasn't got many. Perhaps we'll see some next week because the Rays offense has really started to heat up after sucking most of the first 2 months of the year. Strikeout rates, 22% rate at league average. He really excels at limiting the walks. He's like half of what league average is at 4.3. He's in the top 6%. He's got a horrible ground ball rate. It's bad. It's just 33%. It's pretty bad. So expectedly, he's way above average in fly balls and line drives allowed. And his launch angle is freaking high at 18 degrees. It's 5 degrees worse than last year and 5 degrees more than league average this season. And there's been consequences for him, right? His home runs per 9 is 1.25. It's a bit too high. He's allowed a total of 12 home runs on the season, but 9 of them came in the last 8 starts. So something's changed. One silver lining for a pitcher there that has a high launch angle is his excellent pop-up percentage at 10.3%. He's the 13th best pitcher out of 125 qualified pitchers. So those are easy outs every damn time. When I spoke about Littell in May, his hard hit rate, barrels, and average exit velo were all above average. He's been hit hard since then with a hard hit rate just creeping just above average on the year. Got some swing and miss, not so much in whiffs overall. However, a split finger fastball generates a nice whiff rate of 35%. Okay, matchups. Both starts come in Hitters Park. So at Kansas City in the last 15 days, they've been very bad. Last in runs, last in OPS, bottom 10 in walks, and bottom 3 in RBIs. I like that as well. Texas, too, not so great. Middle of the pack in both walks and Ks, but both bottom 10 in RBIs, bottom 8 in runs, and the 27th worst OPS. And Littell's home run problem, it might be okay there. Both Royals and Rangers are in the bottom 5 in home runs in the last 15 days. He's a very good damn option.
I like him. I can't believe he's
still so
rostered.
low.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. I have one of my teams. I can't remember which one. The home league. Yeah, I think. And I have him and Assad, and I'll kind of rotate them in and out of a release spot depending on matchup. So next week I'm going to throw him in. Okay. But where are we at here? All right. This lead in is going to kind of sound like Kyle Gibson's. That's because it Kind of is. This Mets lefty earned the win on Wednesday, allowing 2 hits, but struggled with command, issuing 5 walks. First time since last season, last August. Matt, how can Sean Manaea right the ship and chew juicy matchups against the Pirates and Nationals next week?
See, there you go with the juiciness again. You're killing me.
Yeah.
So, Nationals and Pirates. And I promise I didn't just look for guys that walked 5 dudes yesterday, but again, Manaea walked 5 guys yesterday.
A lot of coincidence here.
But despite that, he threw 5 shutout innings against the Yankees. So really, it's all in how you frame it. Could have left the walks out and just said, hey, 5 shutout innings, and you'd be impressed. On the season, he's just the SP 73. However, he's the 13th overall relief pitcher this season. In dual eligibility, nice. On the year, he's 4-3 with a 4.16 ERA. His expected ERA and xFIP are in the same neighborhood. A 129 WHIP, 73 strikeouts, 29 walks, 7 home runs allowed, and 71 1/3 innings pitched. He's really only had 3 starts that I'd call bad. He had one against Kansas City back in April, and then his first 2 starts this month where he allowed 17 earned runs and a combined 13 innings pitched. But still, in one of those starts, he struck out 10. So there's some good and some bad. He's not somebody who really works deep into games. He's only gone 6 innings in 3 of his 14 starts. We see immediately that he's a little bit better than a strikeout per inning guy, and he's been around that mark his last several seasons as a starter. His 24% strikeout rate's a little bit better than average, as are his swinging strike and whiff rates. I had the caveat about him starting because he spent most of the season last year with the Giants as a reliever. Walks are a different story, though. 9.6% walk rate and a 3.66 walks per 9 are career highs, and sure as shit, not good. Quality of contact, not amazing. He's bottom third in pretty much everything across the board. But in terms of his overall contact, he's at least an average dude. Contact rate is about 77%. Zone contact rate around 85. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's just kind of okay. Peeking at his batted ball profile, we see that ground balls aren't really his thing. If I'm being honest, his line drive rate is a little bit concerning. So just keep an eye out there. And when you see that when you see that and the quality of contact, along with one of the worst defenses in baseball behind him, I'm kind of surprised his BABIP is just at 293. This dude, though, he's capable of dealing in any start, and the Mets bats have been crushing it as of late. Even if he walks a couple too many guys and gives up some home runs, he's got a good chance of at least getting 1 win next week. And we saw just a couple starts ago, he's capable of double-digit strikeouts. I don't give a shit who you are. That's great. Not expecting it next week, but for somebody who's owned in less than 25% of leagues, what are you really going to expect? I think he's a serviceable guy. I want to start him in an RP slot if I can, just because he's been, roughly a top dozen option there. If I have to put him in an ESP slot, obviously it is what it is. But overall, I'm going to run him out there for both starts. Not going to say I'm going to be thrilled about it, but if these are the options that you have, you do what you got to do. And look, sometimes the key to victory is just racking up some innings.
Yeah, we got a question in the chat really fast here.
Hopefully there's not a wrong answer.
That's fine. MP31, Spencer Horwitz or Jonathan India? Jonathan India's been pretty hot in June. I think he's the 5th second baseman. Horwitz has been a lot worse. I like the offense in Cincinnati better than Toronto.
Yep, I like the offense in Cincinnati. I like the ballpark better. The overall team context is better. I'm going to go with India there.
Yeah, Horwitz is second baseman number 34 in June. India's number 5. So, yeah, definitely. India is the way to go there.
Appreciate you stopping by, buddy.
Heck yeah. All right, where are we at here?
You're going to sit there quietly while I lead you in.
Nice.
The man known as the Professor has made his return to the rotation and seems to have rediscovered his old self. What's the word on Kyle Hendricks?
Yeah, is this a Kyle show? It's like Kyle Gibson, Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah,
my fucking name's Kyle. All right, so not a 2-start here. Recommended to stream versus the Angels at home. His other starts against Philadelphia I ain't running him out there. He'll get destroyed, right? I don't think it'll go very well. He rejoined the rotation recently from the bullpen, and he's looked pretty good, especially his start on June 19th versus the Giants. 5 2/3, 2 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, and 8 damn Ks. On the year, he's got 14 total appearances. He started 9 of those, just 1-5 in 57 2/3 innings pitched. ERA is high. It's almost at 7, except his xFIP is about 2.83, about 2, almost 3 runs fewer. So he's really been damn unlucky. But in June, his ERA is just 1.27 with a sub-1 whip. Strikeout rate 17%. It's below average, but you did see, like I said, the 8 Ks versus the Giants. So there is some upside there. And he makes up for it too with the walk rate being above average at just 6.7%. All right. It is time for physics class. It's in session. Okay. So who knows Sir Isaac Newton's third law of motion? Anybody? I'm sure you've all heard it. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Hendricks is a very low velocity pitcher. His 2 primary pitchers are a changeup and a sinker. He tosses them anywhere from 80 to 87 miles per hour. Pretty low, right? So if the baseball is not thrown hard, according to Newton, it won't come off the bat hard. And Hendricks's underlying metrics really confirm this. The guy allows just an 85 mile an hour average exit velocity. It's top 5% in the majors. Hard hit rate, equally impressive at just 30.7%. He's in the top 3%. That's damn fucking good. Barrel rate, also good, 70th percentile. Now, something else that helps him is a pitcher's ground ball rate. Hendricks has an excellent rate of 48%. He's in the top quarter of pitchers. And that helps him keep the fly ball and line drive rates under league average. I'm actually surprised his home run per 9 is 1.72. He's let 11 of them leave the park this season. Usually a ground ball pitcher doesn't allow that many. Perhaps it has something to do with his 11.4 degree launch angle. And while that's still below average, averages, I think, about 12.2, it's still pretty high for a pitcher with a ground ball rate in the high 40s, right? His problem is, since he throws pretty much 0 gas, he has to pitch to contact more, right? And his contact metrics confirm that. Allows above average contact in the zone. Now, his above average chase rate's pretty damn good at 32.2, but he does allow way too much contact to hitters out of the zone, a whopping 8% more than the major league average. The matchup at home versus the Angels, Wrigley's in the middle of the pack there in park factors, but let's not forget how crazy it can get there. The ball really travels a lot farther there in the warmer months, and it's not called the Windy City for nothing, right? In the last 15 days, Angels have been horrible. They're bottom 6 in OPS, bottom 10 in runs, middle of the pack in walks and Ks. And more importantly, in the last 15 days, the Angels are dead fucking last in home runs. So they probably won't expose Hendricks's little home run problem there. The Angels are a great offense to attack in fantasy next week, or all the time, actually. We got anything in the chat, man?
No, sir.
Okay. This dual eligible Oakland pitcher got rocked by the Halos on Tuesday, just a couple days ago on the 25th. He took the loss, allowing 6 earned runs on 8 hits across 5 1/3, and he walked 1 and he struck out 6. But he gets a rematch on Tuesday the 2nd at home that you should consider streaming in daily leagues. Matt, tell everyone more about Mitch Spence.
Good old Mitch Spence. You're seeing another recurring theme here. We've got a lot of dual eligible guys for you here.
Yes.
Actually, both starts are at home next week. Baltimore, they've been one of the hottest teams in the league. The Angels, on the other hand, have been on the struggle bus pretty much all season, and I don't see that ending anytime soon. You did touch on his last start with them, and this is a dude who started out in the bullpen this season, but was moved to the rotation towards the middle of May. Since then, he started 8 games. He's just 1-3 with an ERA around 4.5, but his xFIP is about a half a run lower, right around 4 flat. He struck out 34, walked just 9, giving up 5 home runs in 43 innings pitched. That doesn't look great on the surface, but 5 of his 8 starts have been pretty good. The strikeout numbers aren't great. He's striking out under 7.5 per nine, around a 20% rate, but he's also shown over his past couple starts that he's capable of striking out a batter per inning. Still, the swinging strike rate is dead on league average, and the whiff rate's a little bit low at 22.7. But he makes up for it with an excellent 5.7% walk rate, and he's also got a fantastic 32.5% chase rate. And this is a dude. One of the things that you want to focus on is find guys who are not going to beat themselves. So you're looking for that low walk rate. Now, the quality of his contact is not the greatest. His exit velocity and hard hit rate are in the bottom 20% of the league. The barrel rate's a little bit better, but we're kind of splitting hairs here, and it's still in the bottom third. From an overall contact perspective, his contact rate is about a point higher than league average, which is passable, but his zone contact rate is higher than what we want to see, 89.9%. I mean, that's not great, but if you pound the zone, you're going to expect that, right? However, he does induce a lot of ground balls with a rate over 48%, and his fly ball and line drive rates are both lower than average. He's currently got a 312 BABIP and just a 68.7% strand rate. He's been bit by the home run bug the past couple starts, which is going to cause your strand rate to plummet. And Oakland is kind of a piss poor defensive team, so the strand rate makes sense, but I'm expecting some improvement there if he can maintain the strikeout numbers we've seen over the past couple of starts. I'd prefer to stream him just against the Angels. Baltimore has been knocking the ball out of the park quite a bit lately, but Oakland is a massive pitcher's park. So maybe he and you can get a little lucky.
Okay. All right.
All right. This rookie Astros hurler has been a strikeout machine since getting the call up from the farm in early April. What else is there to like about Spencer Arrighetti?
Not that picture. I don't like that picture. Anyway, so he's just 7% owned, got a couple starts on the road at Toronto, at Minnesota. He is the number 68 starting pitcher in fantasy land. Yesterday, 26, he had the best outing in his young career versus the Rockies. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits allowed, no earned runs, 0 walks, and a career high 10 Ks for a win and a quality start. He had an eye-popping 35 called or swinging strikes. And looking at his pitch-by-pitch game log, he did make a slight change to his game plan by throwing more of his sweeper. The sweeper had only accounted for 10% of his arsenal so far this year, but 20% of his pitches against the Rockies were sweepers. And it was very effective, especially versus right-handed hitters. On the year, his sweeper has a batting average against of 185, a slugging of under 300, with a whiff rate of almost 42%, and a hard hit rate just 6.7%. That's pretty good. Now he has given up 3 earned run or less in 6 of his last 7 outings. He's got 14 starts on the year. He's 4-6. Got a 5.68 ERA and a whip that's too high at 160. FIP and XFIP are both 1.5 runs less than his ERA, so he's had some bad luck and or bad defense behind him. Strikeout rate, as you mentioned, excellent, 25.3. Can't say the same for his walk rate, right? It's just under 12%. It's pretty bad. Taking a peek under the hood, though, there's a lot to like. He has some great extension, top 4% in the league. So that can make his, 94-mile-an-hour fastball look more like 97 from the hitter's point of view. He has above average overall whiff rate of 26.8, but he has 2 pitches, his curve and his sweeper, with whiff rates both over 38%. Chase rate, on the other hand, not too good, right? He's in the bottom 22% in the majors. Why is Matt looking behind at his bookcase? No one knows, right? Doesn't get hit too hard. Hard hit rate is just above average, while his exit velo and barrel rates are good too, both in the 60th percentile. Digging into some more batted ball details, he doesn't get many ground balls hit off of him, just shy of 39%. That places him in the bottom 30% in the league. So therefore, he's allowed more than league average in fly balls and line drives. God, I am just dumb as shit today. He's been very successful at not allowing more than league average contact. In the zone, it's almost 2% less. out of the zone, he's 7.5% better than league average. Couple start I mentioned on the road at the Blue Jays last 15 days. They've been kind of middling, 18th in home runs, 23rd in runs, 18th in batting average, and 17th in OPS. Minnesota last 15 days and for a great deal of the season, they've been pretty amazing. But hey, not every matchup is perfect. Maybe you just stream him versus Toronto in daily move leagues, but he's worth a shot. And this is a guy I'll definitely be following for draft time next season.
Houston can develop some pitchers. They really can.
I sure can.
So we got a question here in the chat from Iwi. Whatever the hell that is.
Ew,
all right.
Week. Yeah, sure. Okay.
So Winkowski in Boston, Bryce Wilson in Milwaukee, can they be trusted? Bryce Wilson, absolutely not.
No. He's usually freaking following openers, and he ain't even really getting starts anymore. I think 4 of his last 6 outings were behind openers.
Yeah, I don't really think he can be trusted. Earlier in the season, he put together a few halfway decent starts.
Sure.
And he was an okay streaming option, but it almost seems like a lot of that Brewers rotation is kind of falling apart a bit. I think they'll get things back together, and they've certainly got the offense to carry things through, but I'm not going to run either of those dudes out there with any kind of confidence. If you're absolutely desperate, I mean, you do what you got to do, but trust, no way.
I mean, this next guy we're going to talk about is a better option than those 2 you just threw up in the chat there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so broken record time, okay? This is some kind of baseball version of Groundhog's Day. This Mets pitcher got a no decision on Tuesday versus the Yankees, striking out 8, but issuing 5 fucking walks. This is the first time he has issued 5 walks since August of last year. Matt, how can David Peterson right the ship in 2 juicy matchups against the Pirates and Nationals next week?
You got to quit saying juicy.
Well, I just thought
we're just going to end up talking to ourselves in here.
I'm just going to keep saying the same thing over and over. And I was just amazed at how this kept lining up. And I'm like, this is the same shit every time. Go ahead. Much.
So this dude, David Peterson, again, starts at Washington and at Pittsburgh. And he missed most of the year recovering from hip surgery last year. He's only started 5 games, but he's 3-0 with a 3.67 ERA. His expected ERA is double that, which is no bueno. And his xFIP is a run higher. So there's some luck involved in his ERA. He's got a 1.4 whip. He struck out 20, walked 13, allowed 3 home runs and just 27 innings pitched. However, he's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in 4 of his 5 starts, and he's worked 5 or more innings pitched in 4 of his 5 starts. That tells you there was one shitty one in there, and when you've got a small sample size like this, it can skew the numbers. He's not really striking out that many guys yet, but it's going to come. He's at a 16.5% rate right now, striking out 6.6 per 9. However, his career marks are 24.6% and 9.5 per 9. So we're going to see that increase here over the coming weeks. His swinging strike rate and whiff rates are following the same pattern, low at the moment, but they're going to come up. And he can fool hitters too. His chase rate is in the top 40%. And it was the same last season. But this dude is just walking too many guys right now. His walk rate is almost 11, and it's over 4 per 9. Unfortunately, those marks are kind of in line with his career norms. And understand when we're talking about guys who are rostered in less than 20% of leagues, less than 30%, less than 10%, they got some warts on them. Quality of contact is shitty. It always has been. He's a bottom 10% exit velocity and hard hit rate. Barrel rate's slightly better, but still bottom 3rd. Overall contact is high and well above his career norms at almost 81%. It's about 7 points higher than his career average. Zone contact is over 87%, and that's following the same trend, but I'm expecting both of those to normalize as he increases his body of work. I do like what I see in terms of his batted ball profile. He's got a ground ball rate right around 51%, and that's in the top 10% of the league. Fly ball rate's around league average, and his line drive rate is a few points below. He's also inducing his fair share of weak contact, just a hair below average, but a decent mark. Again, like we talked about earlier, that Mets offense has been on fire. It's leading the MLB in runs, second in home runs, with a team OPS over 920 the past couple of weeks. And that means, in theory, He has a much larger margin of error. He's also recorded 6 or more strikeouts in each of his past couple starts. And a lot of the bad news with him is really just small sample size noise. I think he's going to be a solid streaming option for the rest of the season. He's not really a set it and forget it kind of guy, but he does have that strikeout upside. The Mets are a halfway decent team, so he's going to give you a pretty good chance at a win. And Citi Field is, it skews towards being a pitcher's park, so there's a little bit of an advantage there. However, that's a tough division. I mean, right now, Atlanta's a sleeping giant in terms of their lineup. Philly is just beating the shit out of the ball, and they really have all year. We talked about Washington a little bit earlier, how they put the ball in play, and, the Marlins are the Marlins, but at least when you go to Miami, it's, one of the best pitchers parks in the league. At 5% owned, scoop his ass up. Add his ass.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Good stuff.
So we've got somebody who is rostered in less than 5% of leagues that can strike out a batter per inning with a matchup against Seattle next week.
Not so much.
Is that
anymore.
a recipe for success?
Yeah, it probably is. So Yariel Rodriguez, he does have 2 starts. One of them's against Houston. They've been hot. They've won 7 in a row. They're back to 500 now. So I don't want you to start him against him, but definitely consider streaming him, like Matt said, versus Seattle on Saturday, July 6th. And this guy I thought was just going to be a valuable bullpen arm after sitting out last year, and he spent the previous 3 seasons in Japan, but he has the makings of a very solid mid-rotation piece despite his performances to date. And I guess the Blue Jays did too, because they gave him a 5-year, $32 million deal. I did not know that. That happened in January. It's a lot. So after coming back from the IL, he started twice. Last night's start on Wednesday was cut short due to weather. Game was called real early, top of the second, I think, and it's going to be made up later this summer. Previous start, the 21st, yielded 4 earned runs on 2 hits, 3 walks, and 1 K over just 1 1/3 innings, taking a loss against the Guardians. He's been on a little bit of a pitch count too. On the year, 6 starts, he's 0-2, just 17 2/3 innings pitched. ERA over 5, or ERA at 5. Whip is ridiculous at 187. Strikeout rate, while it started pretty high in the beginning of the season, it's below average now at 21%, and the walk rate's not helping things either, over 14%. He does have a below average ground ball rate. His fly ball rate and line drive rates are below average too, but not tremendously so. And he does tend to get hit pretty hard too. Below average exit velocity, hard hit rate are bad, but rebounds nicely with a 5.8% barrel rate. Guy's got a deep enough arsenal of reliable pitches. He has an above average fastball at 94 miles an hour. In fact, he really throws 3 types of fastballs: a splitter, a 4-seamer, and a sinker, while mixing in sliders and curves. And some of those offerings still really need to be refined, right? Okay. His slider, while approaching almost 2,800 RPM spin rate, does rack up the strikeouts, but too many are left hanging in the zone. Opponents are slugging 515 off of it. His 4-seamer, allowing a batting average of 368. So, like, the quality of stuff isn't really an issue, but he really, really needs to work on the location. High walks, remember? If he will be an effective major league starter. But one thing is clear, he's too good for the minors. During his rehab assignments, he ate up opposing hitters with ease, really. He struck out 23, allowed 3 earned runs across 14 innings. And that's why we're talking about him for this quick pump and dump next week, right? The K upside. Consider streaming him for his outing at Seattle, July 6th. In the last 15 days, Seattle has had the most strikeouts, 144, and it's not even close. The next team, second in line, is the Atlanta Braves. They have 22 less. But Kyle, that's only the last 15 days. Surely Seattle is better year to date. Nope. Most Ks on the season. Seattle hitters have walked back to the dugout dejected, bat in hand, 838 times this season. That's over 27%. And to top it off, in the last 3-year rolling period, including this season, T-Mobile Park in Seattle is the most pitcher-friendly park, according to StatCast. Roll out Rodriguez. See what he can do versus the shitty Seattle Mariners.
Dude, I got to tell you, Seattle strikes out so much, even if I got somebody who's striking out 8 guys per 9, like that's somebody who can go out there and easily surpass that ratio. Yes, absolutely.
All right. All right, we got one more guy here. I'll call him a super duper desperation play, right? This Angels pitcher started the season a Pirate, but was traded last month to the Halos. He has a start next week at Oakland that we believe is a nice streaming option in deep leagues. Matt, what's up with Roansy Contreras?
Well, a little bit and a lot all at the same time. And this dude, he came up with the Pirates a couple of years ago, and I thought he was going to be a thing. He's got just a metric shit ton of talent there. But quite frankly, it wouldn't be a Thursday pitcher show without that desperation play. He's got those 2 road starts at Oakland and at the Cubs. Both teams are struggling at the plate and striking out quite a bit, not scoring a whole hell of a lot either. And this dude just got moved into the rotation, so do not expect him to work deep into games yet. He gave up 1 run while striking out and walking 2 over just 3 innings pitched yesterday. And it took him 61 pitches to do it, so he wasn't really that efficient. But I think it is fair to expect that they let him throw somewhere between 70 and 80 pitches per start next week. On the year, he's 1-0 with a 3.82 ERA. Expected ERA and xFIP are about 3/4 of a run higher. He struck out 31, walked 15, dropped 5 dong, and that's over 33 innings pitched. He's just under a strikeout per inning with a rated of almost 22%, which is fine. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's right around average. And his swinging strike and whiff rates are also around league average. The walks are high, and that's something that's plagued him throughout his young career. He's over 10% on the season and over 4 walks per 9. And I swear it feels like I've said that like 7 times today. But the pickings are slim. He does have the ability to fool at batters, though. His 27.6% chase rate, it's a little below league average, but it's not terrible. The quality of contact is kind of rough, and part of that is because of just how hard he throws, kind of like the opposite of Kyle Hendricks. Barrel and hard hit rates are in the bottom quarter of the league. Exit velocity is in the bottom 10%. The overall contact rate is just a hair over league average at 77.6, but his zone contact rate is a full point below. He's also not too bad at inducing weak contact. He's about a half point below league average. This dude is clearly a fly ball pitcher, and his fly ball rate is over 30%. But his line drive rate is under 18, and he's got a ground ball rate over 40. So there's not too much to complain about there. He doesn't strike out enough batters to maintain his 82.5% strand rate, so we're going to see some regression there. The Angels are roughly an average defensive team, and his line drive rate is low, so I think the 289 BABIP is probably about right for him. And when I said desperation play, this is exactly what he is. If you're just saying, screw it, I'm going to take whatever innings I can get and just kind of roll with it, he's a dude for you. I think if he can be a little bit more efficient in his start against Oakland, I think he's got a good shot for a win, but obviously he needs to hit that 5 inning mark. If he doesn't, I don't want to say it's a wasted start because Oakland does swing and miss. I think he can get you, at 4 or 5 strikeouts, even if he only goes like 4 1/3. But just proceed with caution. The guy's only 24 years old. He's pretty inexperienced, and he's a volatile pick, but he's owned in, I don't know, like 0.5% of leagues. If he's rostered in your league, I'll be thoroughly floored, and Kyle will send you $500.
Yeah, yeah, he will. Yeah, he will. Heck yeah. All right, we got a question in the chat. Our old buddy here, James Coffey. He has Garrett Crochet on his team. He's over his max innings. As we know, he's at 94 innings pitched. Would you look to move on from him for a batter? I'm riding until he dies. If they're going to do, they pulled him a start last week, like at the 5th inning. He was only at like 65, 70. Like they're already starting to cut down on his workload.
They are, but it's very, very difficult to manage a workload like that for half a season. We're not even to the All-Star. Shit, it's still June.
Well, and nothing in this game is black and white. Who knows what
No,
could
it's
happen.
not. I know. Look, even if they start pulling him after 65, 70 pitches, just like Roansy Contreras, he might not even be going deep enough into the game to get you the win, which
Right.
is I guess one of the biggest like luck stats, just because the pitcher has little control over that. You can pitch 8 innings and give up 1 run and still lose. It's going to come down to how your team is built, James. I think the time to move on from him was probably about a month ago.
Yeah.
To really maximize the return. But even if you move him now, you're still going to get something halfway decent back for him. Just I think you need to lower expectations as to what that return might be, as opposed to if you'd have done this late May, early June. But I mean, full disclosure, he has been kicking ass and taking names in that time frame. I mean, he's been a top 5 starting pitcher for pretty much the entire season.
He leads the league in strikeouts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's hard to move on from, but I think you can still get something halfway decent for him.
I've seen pitchers in this situation in the past where, for lack of a better word, they detrain right through between starts and stuff. They do less to try and maximize some more time on their arms, and that could be something that the White Sox are doing as well.
It is. He following up. A team's offering him Stephen Kwan. Take it.
Yeah, I would.
Absolutely take it. I know you're in a roto league there, and
his yeah.
I know you were, and this is going back to some other conversations that we've had with James, because he's an awesome, loyal member of the audience. I know you've been kind of deciding between, Adolis Garcia and Luis Robert. If you can get Stephen Kwan on there, look, he's going to make up for a lot of ills and help make up for some really shitty batting averages for you.
Right. Yeah. Kwan's hitting like 389 or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. And he's not going to hold that pace for the rest of the year.
I think that's what we said.
Hitter.
I think that's what we said 60 days ago. And he got injured and came back, and he's still hitting damn well.
Well, he is, but I'm still going to stand by the fact that this guy is not going to, hit up there in the 380s. I think he can finish with an average in the 340s, somewhere around there, if he remains healthy.
Yep. So that's all the pitchers we got. 6 of the 10 are dual eligible. So if it's somebody you're putting in, you can, some of the 2 starts, you can maybe put him in one of your reliever spots for some extra starts next week. Could help you beat your opponent. Heck yeah. All right. If nobody's got any other questions in the chat, we'll get the hell out of here. Our fantasy football channel, which I just threw up on there, we're trying to grow that as well. So make sure you guys get to that. Our next stream will be on Sunday, July 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss us as well. And the 2-start rankings I put in the top of the live chat are available at our website at www.stonedonsport. I fucked it up. StonedOnSportsPodcast.com. I don't even know why I tried throwing fucking W's out there, because I'm just gonna fuck it up. So, all right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Everybody have a great evening, great day. Stay stoned.
See you, folks.